how to ask questions. Okay, so this is actually super important. And so we're going to go over it right now. And that's how to ask questions, not just how to ask questions, but how to ask good questions. Okay, so the first thing you need to do in order to ask a good question is to know what the problem is. If you can't phrase what the problem is, if you don't know how to describe what the problem is to somebody else, you're not going to be able to get an answer. So you need to be clear on the problem. So be clear on the problem. And so that's, step number one. Is you have to be able to ask what the question actually is. You need to be able to communicate with other people what the problem is. Step number two is if you have details, add them. So add as many details as possible, but just make sure they're relevant. Don't tell us the entire project. Don't give us all the unused code. Don't give us code that is has nothing to do with your HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, or whatever you're working on. Just give us the relevant code. And so step number three would be to spell details right. Step number three is spelling. So you have to make sure that you are spelling things properly, because if you're not spelling your sentences properly, if you're not spelling your questions properly, if you're using poor grammar, guess what? People are not going to spend a lot of time to answer those. The most answered questions on Stack Overflow, the most answered questions really anywhere, including Facebook, including our Facebook dev group. Well, guess what? They're all the ones that actually have a well-worded, grammatically correct question. So, spelling is really important. Very, very important. Now, the fourth and probably the most important part of asking a good question, the most important one, is, and I really mean this in the nicest way, is to go and Google the question. Google your problem first. Chances are somebody's already had a very similar problem or the exact same problem, and the answer might be on stackoverflow.com. The answer might be in some other developer forum. The answer might already be in our Facebook dev group. All you have to do is search for it. So spend 5 minutes and search for your problem. If you cannot absolutely find any help whatsoever within, I would say, 15 minutes max, then ask your question. But chances are, if you have a question at this stage in your development career, it's already been asked. It's probably been asked, 100,000 times already. So you don't need to ask again because someone else probably already has a great answer for you. So again, I mean this in the nicest way, but make sure you Google your problem first. That'll also help you specify what your problem actually is. It'll help you with wording. It'll help you with grammar and spelling and all that stuff, because you'll see other people's work as well. So in order to ask great questions, be clear on your problem, add as many details as you possibly can, relevant details, that is. Make sure your spelling is accurate, you're using proper grammar, and most importantly, make sure you Google the problem first.